Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's Town Hall. My name is Talimola Mugala. I'll be your host for today. And today's topic is beware of unregulated financial product offerings. As you may know, we've had a lot of scams, people being scammed, and there's a lot of products. There's a rise in the number of unregulated products out there. So today we just want to share some tips on how you can identify scams and just protect yourself from that. So before we start, I'll just give a few more minutes so that we have a few more people join the meeting. We'll start in about 5 minutes. Thank you. Hey, good afternoon once again. Thank you so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host for today. My name is Tali Mugala, and welcome to today's town hall, which is titled Beware of Unregulated Financial Product Offerings. Our presenter for today is Ms. Gertrude Buyungwe, who is an inspector and analyst in the Department of Market Supervision, Supervision and Development here at the Commission. So I'll now hand over to Ms. Buyungwe to take you through the presentation. Please take note of make use of the chat box where you can post your questions that will be attended to at the end of the presentation. We'll try and make it as interactive as possible, so please stay back and enjoy the presentation.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us this month for this town hall meeting. My name is Gertrude Buyungwe, as Tali has already mentioned, and our topic today is Be Aware of Unregulated Financial Product Offerings. I'll now share with you a presentation on the same where we'll be able to go I will now share a presentation that will go deeper into what this entails. Remember to share your comments or questions in the chat section so we can have an interactive session. So like I said earlier, our topic today is Beware of Unregulated Financial Product Offerings. So the presentation today will look at what regulation is, first of all, and then we'll look into the financial regulatory landscape in Zambia, after which I will go deeper into the capital market universe. And with that, it's my hope that we'll now be able to better understand the regulated products that are in the capital markets. And at the end of everything, hopefully, we'll now be able to identify unregulated products and help ourselves invest in safer products. So the reason we are talking about this today is because there's been a rise in the number of scams and fraudulent schemes within the market. And it's important for members of the public and investors to be aware of these. So we thought that first of all, we help you understand what the regulated products are in the capital markets, and that if you know what the regulated products are, you're then able to tell what's unregulated and be able to protect yourself from the scams and the fraudulent schemes. So what is regulation? Regulation is oversight that allows regulated institutions and individuals to be subjected to certain requirements, restrictions, guidelines, rules that are aimed to maintain the stability and integrity of a particular sector. So this is not limited to just the financial sector. You'll notice that every sector has some rules that products need to meet. So the product offerings in regulated spaces are offered in a way that follows a set of defined rules and guidelines. This means that consumers are protected from incorrect advice or mis-selling of any product. So when we talk about financial regulation, we're saying this is oversight which allows entities or individuals operating in this space to be subjected to certain requirements, restrictions, guidelines, rules that aim to maintain the stability and integrity of the financial sector. And then we have unregulated products on the other side. These operate in an uncontrolled and are not directed by any rules or laws. It means that that product that's being offered is not subjected to any type of regulation that ensure conformity to anything. So the operations are not done under any oversight or any regulator overseeing the management of these operations. Unregulated financial products are not subjected to meet the requirements that are set out by the regulators in the financial sector. Now, even though investing in unregulated products is not prohibited, doing so essentially means that you have removed yourself from the consumer protection and may not have the appropriate protection that regulators provide in regulated spaces. So when we look at the financial regulatory landscape in Zambia, we have 3 government agencies that are regulating the financial sector. These are the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Bank of Zambia, and the Pensions and Insurance Authority, PIA. So with the Securities and Exchange Commission, this entity is responsible for the supervision and development of the Zambian capital market. They're responsible for licensing, registration, and authorization for financial intermediaries, issuers of debt and equity instruments, collective investments, and other funds. This role is prescribed under the Securities Act number 41 of 2016. With the Bank of Zambia, they're responsible for monetary and supervisory policy and regulates banks and other financial services institutions registered under the Banking and Financial Services Act, Chapter 387 of the laws of Zambia. The Pensions and Insurance Authority regulates the conduct of pension and insurance industry through prudential supervision in order to protect the interests of pension scheme members and insurance policyholders. This is done under the provision of the Pension Scheme Regulation Act number 28 of 1996. So when we look at the capital markets ecosystem that is regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Ministry of Finance is the parent ministry that the capital market falls under. And in this market, there are different market operators. There are also issuers and investors. So the capital market allows for projects that need capital by issuing different kinds of instruments, either debt instruments like bonds or equities, through the capital markets to the investors who then provide these funds to those in need of this capital. So some of these securities through which these projects are able to raise this fund are through stocks, bonds, mutual funds, electronic traded funds, derivatives, or hedge funds. We'll talk about these more in the coming slides. So we thought that maybe we should first explain what capital markets really are. So what's really found in the capital markets is capital, the capital that is needed by institutions for different activities, say growth or expansion activities that different institutions undertake. So the capital that is needed for these projects is found in capital markets is basically money. So the capital that's needed is just money. And there's a marketplace where the buyers of this money, the ones that need this money, and the sellers of this money now meet to enable those that need the money have the money. And the place in which this happens is what we call capital markets. So capital markets are really just markets that facilitate investors to provide the long-term capital, which is the money, for the financing of these long-term projects. So in the Zambian capital markets universe, we have different players. We have dealers, issuers, financial market infrastructures, different authorized funds like the private equity, venture capital funds, collective investment schemes. We also have credit rating agencies that provide ratings for the different issuers of instruments. We also have some self-regulatory organizations like the exchanges. Then we have share transfer secretaries that allow for proper allocation of dividends. And we have investment advisors that offer advice to the different types of investors in the market. We also have regulatory sandbox participants that allows for current innovations that do not yet have regulation for to operate in a regulated environment. Some of the products that you will find in our market in Zambia, we have stocks that allow you to have a shareholding in the different companies that are listed on the exchange. And we have bonds that allow you to lend your money long-term to institutions or the government. We also have collective investment schemes and other funds that allow you to invest in a pooled fund that can enable you invest in larger projects that you can't invest into as an individual. And we have different services like investment advice that's offered by the different providers in the market. Like I mentioned earlier, we also have sandbox innovations that are running in the regulatory sandbox that we have. Some of the innovations that are there are like peer-to-peer lending. Some products allow for investors to be able to have access to global portfolios and cryptos. So those are some of the innovations that are in our sandbox currently. And what I've mentioned here are the products that you will find currently in the Zambian capital markets that are regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. And so those that are not regulated, you'll find that this is the space that individuals or institutions with ill intentions take advantage of in order to scam innocent investors to make a profit and not care about the people that provide that money to them. So such activities are what we call frauds and scams. So how we define investment fraud or scams is the illegal sale or purported sale of an investment product. So when investment products are now being sold to individuals and the public in an illegal way or selling products that don't even exist, that is what we refer to as investment fraud and scams. And who performs such activities? It can be individuals in an individual capacity or corporates that will come to you and prove that they have PACRA documentation and probably lie that they've been allowed to carry out that business. But remember, PACRA only registers companies. Their registration or the PACRA documents that they submit to you does not speak to the products that they are offering or how they are offering. It only shows that they have been registered as a company. How they carry out their businesses, legal or illegal, has got nothing to do with the documentation from PACRA. So some of the common investment frauds and scams are the pyramid schemes, where money is raised through recruitment of people, where some people would encourage that you go and find, for example, 10 people, and you will receive a certain amount of money. And if you receive 20 more, 10 more, you have another amount of money. So those are called pyramid schemes. There is no product that's being bought or sold. All you're doing is recruiting people, having them contribute a certain amount that they sometimes will call a membership fee, and so on. And then we have Ponzi schemes. In this case, the fraudster collects money from new investors and uses that money to pay dividends to the early stage investors, rather than investing or managing those funds. So they come to you, some will claim they actually manage funds and the funds are doing so well that they're paying out a certain amount of dividends, when in actual fact, what they're doing is collecting the money from those that join and pay off those that have been existing, claiming those are the profits from the fund, yet there is no fund in existence. And then we have pump and dump fraud. This is where some people will start buying shares at low prices, start spreading rumors about how well this institution is performing, and people start buying into that company, and that activity making the price go up. And when it reaches the amount that they anticipate, they sell out their shares and let the rest of the investors figure out for themselves that indeed that company wasn't even performing as well. And then we have offshore internet and social media fraud. These come in various forms. I'm sure all of us at some point have received a text or an email claiming you can invest 200 kwacha and in 2 hours you get 600 kwacha, and so on and so forth. So you ask yourself, how does this money grow? In what kind of investment provides such earnings or profits in hours or even in days? So these are some of the scams that people are coming up with to take advantage of individuals. Some of the signs you should look out for is usually these, for instance, the example I just gave, bring 2,000 kwacha, after 2 hours, you get 6,000 kwacha. That deal sounds like a really good deal. But remember, if a deal sounds too good, chances are that too good to be true, chances are that it's really too good to be true. It doesn't exist. It's probably a lie. And usually you find that the people that are selling these products will pressure you, will be constantly calling you, checking on you. Have you sent the money? Asking you to send the money as soon as possible. You sign documents later. No, that's not important. These are some of the signs that you should look out for some of these scammers. And usually you find that the people that are selling these products are not even licensed. Some will tell you they're licensed, but when you ask for the license, they won't be able to produce it. And also, most of these fraudsters and scammers do not even disclose much about the product. All they will tell you are the profits you earn. They'll share their success stories and entice you to make the deposit as soon as possible. They do not speak to the management or the actual product that you're buying into. They avoid conversation and disclosure. And there's no proper paper trail or documentation that takes place. Everything is send the money. The emphasis is just on you investing into these products. And sometimes you find that you've won a prize that you did not enter into, but you have to pay a certain amount of money before getting your money. That's clear indication that that's probably a scam or a fraudulent activity. Some of the features are, they'll lead you to websites that have convincing information, a lot of success stories, sometimes even show some prominent people. But you need to remember that these scammers are always looking for ways of scamming people. They're always looking for ways to convince you. And most of them will most likely show you how they have proper documentation to legitimize their activities or ZRA documents. But remember again, this doesn't speak to the products or the legality of the products they're selling. These companies are just registered. And how can you avoid being scammed? Like I mentioned earlier, if an investment opportunity sounds too good to be true, it probably is. You need to ensure that you have independent advice from an authorized investment advisor. Always deal with licensed and authorized entities and persons offering these products to you. Ensure that you have sight of these licenses where you're in doubt. If that's not convincing enough, visit the websites or the physical offices of the entities they tell you they are registered with. Do not be pressured to make an investment if you are in doubt. Like I said, get more information from reputable sources, follow up on any information they give you, ensure that you do your due diligence. And also be on the lookout for public alerts and warnings that provide information about fraudsters. Sometimes you find that once the bubble bursts and all the information is out there of how this institution was illegal, that's when you start seeing alerts that were issued months or years ago. So be on the lookout, visit websites of regulators, see what's trending, and be informed. Some of the tips for a smart investor are: ask questions. Do not be ashamed or shy to keep asking questions about investments being offered to you. You need to do so in helping you to decide whether to invest or not. And when you do, continue asking questions. It's your right. Don't fail to ask questions and don't be in a hurry to invest. Tip number 2, verify whether or not that investment or product is regulated by one of the financial sector regulators. Ask if the entity or individual selling you the product in the scheme is licensed or whether they do not require to be licensed by SEC or any other regulator, Bank of Zambia or PIA. Don't shy away from demanding to see the licenses that they claim to have or to hold. When in doubt, go and check on the websites, check if they are listed amongst the people that are licensed. And thirdly, ensure you do your due diligence. Doing independent research on the scheme or the product being offered to you is very important. That should be the beginning before you make an investment decision. So remember, the 3 regulators in the financial sector here in Zambia are the Securities and Exchange Commission for the capital markets, the Bank of Zambia, money markets, and the Pensions and Insurance Authority for pensions and insurance industry. If you have any suspicious or fraudulent activity out there, feel free to inform the relevant authorities. All entities have the mandate to attend to your complaint, carry out some investigations, and where the faulting institution is found wanting, with the powers that each institution has, they will be able to act on that. Where the activity is criminal, most of these cases will be referred to the appropriate law enforcing agency, like the Drug Enforcement Commission, to carry out their mandate of enforcing the law. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope that you have taken note of your questions and answers, because it's at that point where we get to interact more by addressing your questions and comments. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Gertrude. Thank you so much, Gertrude, for that elaborate presentation. We have learned a lot. We've also gotten tips on what we should do, on how to avoid being scammed, how to avoid the pyramid schemes that are going on and whatnot. So at this point, we will take your questions. Feel free to post them in the chat and in the question Q&A section that we have. Okay. We do have a question that I've just noted, or rather it's a comment from Mr. Harry Mafuta in the chat box. He's asking if we have information on Venture Burn. This is a crypto assets platform that has been set up, or that was recently launched. He says they claim to have been launched in Zambia, and he's asking if we have any information on this. So yes, we do have our team here at the Commission from the Surveillance Department that take care of such things. So they watch the market and just see what kind of trends are out there in the market. And we do see this kind of posts that are being made. But I must mention that the Commission, I think as Gertrude must have mentioned in her presentation, does not regulate crypto assets. We, however, have set up a team or a working group with our sister regulators, the Bank of Zambia, where we're just looking into this and seeing what measures we can take as regulators when it comes to crypto assets. And we will be informing the public in due course of what happens in this space. But I think we do have an announcement which was issued, a public notice concerning the same. So you can visit our websites, both the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Bank of Zambia, on information concerning crypto assets and regulation from our end. We do have another question. There are a lot of issues on this topic. The regulated services do not operate like they are regulated. Why would anyone buy shares or bonds when they have no access to financial markets? This question is from Serge Nalishiwa. Did you get the question, Gertrude?
Thank you very much, Sitali, and Serge Nalishiwa. Thank you for your question. So the way I understand your question, it's centered around access to the products that are being offered in the market. So this is now a case of inclusion. So how many people have access to these products in the market? Most of the providers of these services do have access to, can be accessed through emails or through their phones, their phone numbers, using their phone numbers, if you need to get in touch with them. We're also aware that most of these institutions are not in other, most of the other provinces in Zambia, but it's something that we are all trying to work towards in ensuring that the access points to these products is increased. Thank you very much for that. And Sitali.
If I can contribute.
Thank you for the response, Gertrude. Serge, I hope that answers your question. I've seen a hand.
Stalip, I can also contribute to Gertrude's response.
Just says Samsung.
Hello, can you hear me?
Could you just type your question in the chat? Then we'll be able to attend to it.
No longer.
Yes. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, I just wanted to make a contribution.
Please keep posting your questions, we'll attend to them. Okay, we do have another question from Joshua Mulenga. Do we have any organization which is in charge of credit rating here in Zambia? If not, what are the measures in place? In place to mitigate the long-term implications of using CRB scores for foreign pivots in this regard. So do we have any organizations which are in charge of credit rating here in Zambia?
Thank you very much, Joshua, for that question. So for starters, I would like to mention that for any credit rating institution to operate in Zambia, they need to be licensed by the Securities and Exchange Commission. That is us here at the Commission. They need to be licensed to be allowed to run this business in Zambia. And currently, we do have one institution that has been licensed and carries out that activity in the market.
Okay, thank you so much. I must mention now that we are also live on Facebook. So please feel free to interact with us on Facebook as well. We will attend to your questions there as well. Please keep your questions coming. We still have some time. Any more questions? You must agree with me that this topic is quite interesting and it does hit home, because we have, I think, once in a while, maybe been scammed or seen a lot of unregulated products going around. And this is timely because it's time that we learned how to deal with unregulated products. And also, we have the 20% that's being offered out there by our colleagues at NAPSA. So as we claim our monies, let's ensure that we invest in products that are regulated and use it wisely. Yeah. Any more questions? We do have a question on our Facebook chat. This is in connection with Lawrence Poor. We will not delve into the issues of Lawrence Poor here, but we have taken note of the question and you will be responded to by the interim managers handling it. I see a hand again from Samsung SM. Maybe we can allow you to speak. Or you've typed your question? Okay, let me just check. Okay, cryptocurrency or crypto asset, do we expect expert on the mechanism in this emerging sector? Okay, like I mentioned earlier, crypto assets or cryptocurrency trading is not regulated in Zambia. And like I mentioned, our position as a commission, as well as the Bank of Zambia, is that we are looking into ways that we will get to a point where whether we will regulate this or not, whether the trading or the issuing of crypto assets. So for now, we are not regulated, and that's still they're not regulated, and that's still the position. I don't know if any colleagues from the commission would like to add to this. But we can move on. We do have another question from Gambo Kabalata. I may have missed this, but not everyone may have the financial know-how on how to scrutinize some schemes.
Yeah, proceed, we can get you.
Sorry, I was muted. Yes, I was reading a question from Gambo Kabalata. I may have missed this, but not everyone may have the financial know-how of how to scrutinize some schemes. Is there a way that citizens could call, report, or through a toll-free line, for example? Can the average Zambian go around reporting this? Gertrude?
Thank you, Ngambo. You're very right. Not everyone is aware of how to go about this. So the first step that we give to most people on how you can help identify whether this is legitimate or not is first asking if they're licensed or authorized to carry out the business. So ask for documentation to see the institution they are claiming to be regulated by. And then you can get in touch with any of these institutions. All the institutions in the financial sector, Bank of Zambia, PIA, and the SEC, can easily be accessed on their web. Their information is online. If you just Google their names, information will be able to come on, their numbers will be shown, and you can call those numbers and report or inquire on the information that's presented before you. Also, it's possible for a regulated entity to be providing a product that is not regulated. So you also can't take advantage, or you can't assume that just because they are regulated by SEC, then every product that that company is providing to you is being regulated. So just make sure you understand what is being sold to you. Ask the questions, understand and know what is being presented before you. So even when you reach out, you're finding out the right information, because it's possible for you to only hear that this entity is regulated by SEC. You call SEC and they tell you, all you ask is Ngambo PLC regulated by SEC? And we give you the information that they are, when the actual product they are selling to you is not being regulated. So make sure you have all the information so that when you're making your inquiries, you are getting the right response. So you're able to be told this institution is only licensed to give investment advice. Maybe they're not allowed to get your money. So you need to make sure you understand your products, get all the information when they're selling that product to you before you give them your money, and then do your due diligence. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gertrude, for that. Then we have a question from Moses Banda, which I think Gertrude can just add to that. In case an entity is found wanting in fraud malpractice, are there any specific legal implications that apply to such activities? And then after Gertrude gives a response to this one, I'll allow Mubanga to just give us a comment around financial inclusion.
Good afternoon, Moses. Thank you for participating. So where an institution is found wanting, there are certain steps that are taken. They are spelled out in our law, so that we follow the Securities Act, and that is the law that we will be enforcing. So depending on what malpractice you are found wanting in, the appropriate law will apply. So I'm not able to give you what that is specifically, because it depends on what the malpractice is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gertrude. Mwanga, would you like to give a comment, I think, on the earlier question?
All right, thank you. I just wanted to, I think, add to Mr. Nalishiwa's comment on access. I think the observation is valid, and I think from our standpoint as a commission, the drive has been to try and digitize some of these processes in terms of how can we be more innovative as a market to promote financial inclusion with regards to the capital markets. I think you will agree that other sectors have done very well. Mobile money, for instance, the banks have also made business processes very easy by digitalizing. And I think just to add to what Gertrude further alluded to, us being able to implement the regulatory sandbox, I think is one way that we are trying to leverage regulatory frameworks that will promote innovation in our space, because the regulatory sandbox is, I think, trying to promote technologically driven innovations in our space. So you will actually note that the current participants are all leveraging technology to promote capital markets access and so on. So I think that is one way that we are trying to leverage and promote access in terms of financial inclusion. And then also there was a question on cryptocurrencies or crypto assets, whether they are regulated. Though we do not have bespoke regulations around this, we do have sandbox participants also that are rolling out crypto assets as an innovative product. So I think it's giving us an opportunity as a commission as well as the innovator to try and understand how the applications are being deployed in our space through the usage of set parameters. I think it being a fairly new phenomena or trend, I think it's good that we introduce these products in a safe way. And as such, we're using the sandbox to test those products before they can be commercially deployed. I hope those responses address your queries. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mubanga, for that. Mrs. Sichoni, you have your hand up. I think you can also just add to the conversation.
Thank you, Sitali and Gertrude, very well presented topic. Just to respond quickly to the question on the type of action that is taken when there's a breach. So that will depend mostly on what law has been breached. So if it's the securities regulatory framework that has been breached, the Securities Act, like Gertrude rightly pointed out, is very particular about how the Commission will take enforcement action or other corrective action against the person that has breached that regulatory framework with respect to that breach. But if it's outside the securities regulatory framework, then we have ways in which we cooperate with other entities. For instance, if it's something that has to do with the Bank of Zambia, I think Gertrude highlighted the fact that the financial sector has got 3 regulators. So if it's something that is banking related or a financial product that is regulated by the central bank, then the Bank of Zambia will be the best placed to deal with that, and will refer that matter to the central bank because it would have breached their particular law. If it doesn't have to do with any of the financial sector regulators, but it's just a crime like fraud and money laundering, then we have to refer that matter to the relevant law enforcement agency. Gertrude had mentioned the Drug Enforcement Commission, but there are others. The police, we also work with the Anti-Corruption Commission, among others. So there's that cooperation that takes place. So it doesn't mean that when you breach a law that we don't regulate, that we do nothing about it. We're able to refer the matters to the relevant authority. Now, I wanted to also talk about to comment on the Lawrence book, just from a high level. First of all, I just wanted to advise that we did lift the supervisory possession for Lawrence Poor. So the SEC is no longer holding the interim management of Lawrence Poor, and the company is back in the hands of the owners. So if you have any queries or issues, you can go directly and speak to the owners. However, with respect to any other cases that are pending or outstanding from the Commission or other relevant law enforcement agencies, those are not matters that are subject to public discussion, so we cannot comment on those. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sichoni, for that, and thank you for the clarifications as well. We have another question from Joshua. Oh, okay, Serge first, but I thought this was, okay. The question says, there are a lot of issues. Sorry, just a second. Okay, so Serge was saying, what about the uneducated, the marketeers, the local people who put in effort in teaching, who is putting effort in teaching about Ponzi schemes? Mostly these are the ones that fall for such things, yes. So Serge, I think Vanga did touch on this in terms of the awareness programs that we do as a commission and investor education efforts that we are putting in. So we do take time to do exhibitions, to do awareness campaigns, and we do try to simplify this information for the marketeers as well as any local person to try and understand the dangers of investing in Ponzi schemes. I hope that answers your question. Then we have Joshua. who speaks about what are the regulatory requirements surrounding peer-to-peer lending platforms around disclosing CRB scores to investors looking to finance online debt needs. Mubanga, are you able to take this one?
Okay, so in terms of the regulations that we're using for peer-to-peer lending, again, it's the sandbox regulations. And I think a key component around the test plan, which is what we use to monitor and supervise the different innovations that are participating in the sandbox, is what will have the various parameters. So for instance, if it is a peer-to-peer lending platform, it will be expected that there will be there will need to be adherence to certain disclosures or certain principles that have to do with consumer protection that have to be agreed between the Commission and the innovator themselves. So I anticipate that that is one area also that would be considered because it is what I think determines the credibility of the borrowers as well as the innovator if they are getting external funding to be able to adhere to those CRB guidelines. I think it's a tool that helps finances to determine whether or not the institution or individual in need of finances is well qualified to access those loans. And I hope that answers the question.
Yes, I hope that answers your question, Joshua. Thank you so much, Mubanga, for that response. We have another question from Kampo Hachunde. And the question goes, there are products regulated outside Zambia and are genuine through which people are paid using the crypto system. If I decide to use my money to bring people on board and we share the profits because the product requires numbers to generate good profits, is that against the law? I can direct that one to Mrs. Sichoni.
Sorry, Stali, I didn't get the question.
Okay, so the question says, there are products regulated outside Zambia and are genuine through which people are paid using the crypto system. So if I decide to use my money to bring people on board and we share the profits because the product requires numbers to generate good profits, is that against the law?
Okay, thank you for that question. So it depends on how the product is structured and how you're bringing in members to participate in this scheme. If it looks and feels like a security, then we'll come and regulate it. And where we know that you are maybe probably dealing or you're engaged in a collective investment scheme, because depending on how it's structured, it then can fall into any of the categories of the products that we regulate. Then yes, it will be subject to our regulatory oversight. Where you're not sure, our offices are always open. You are free to come and see us so that you tell us and explain to us how your product is structured, and then we'll be able to advise you whether that product is something that is breaking or breaching our regulatory framework or not. So I can't give a yes or no answer right now because I'm not really very conversant or privy to the way you've explained it. I can't just explain or understand it from the way you've explained it. But because you're bringing people on board, it's like you're collecting investments. So that is sounding more like something that we need to look at as a securities market.
Okay, I hope that answers your question. Thank you so much, Mrs. Sichone, for that response. We have another question from an anonymous attendee. This one is a three-part question. It's loaded. The first part says, what is SEC or Lucid doing in promoting trading of commodities such as soya, maize, groundnuts, metals for small-scale farmers, miners? And the second part says, is there anywhere to gather information on futures and forwards transactions on the Zambian market, or they don't exist? Then the third part says what SEC and boards stands for a listed financial institution, name withheld, that has not complied with listing requirements or continuing obligations and non-publication of financial information to investors or the public, not even a cautionary statement. Okay, for this one, I'll direct this one to Mr. Nonde to kindly assist with the response.
Hi, Stanley. I think the question you asked was around what is SEC doing to promote trading in commodities?
Yes.
Is that right?
The first part is what is SEC or Lucid doing in promoting trading of commodities? That's the first part. Yeah.
Okay. So I think from the regulatory point of view, we already have the framework, I believe, for trading in securities, which is the Securities Act. So the best placed institution to actually give a proper answer in terms of what they're doing then is the marketplace, which is the LUCE, who involved in who facilitate the buying and selling of securities, because they are a securities exchange. What I do know is that over the last few years, LUCE have actually launched a commodities exchange. But I don't think it has been fully operationalized, and that's probably because of the infrastructure that's required for you to have a properly running commodities exchange. So there's two main aspects. The first aspect is the security itself, which is trading on the exchange. But on the back end of that, you've actually got the physical market where you're now talking about the actual grade of, if it's maize, soybeans, or whatever commodity. So my gut feel is that physical side of the commodities trading has not yet been properly organized, so that then instruments such as goods seated in a warehouse somewhere, which you can trade on the exchange in exchange for cash, and then somebody else can then take delivery of those goods at whatever date. That whole universe for commodities trading, I don't think it's been fully sorted out. So maybe that's why you're not seeing much activity in terms of trading on the commodities exchange on the LUCE. But I guess it's a question we can try and see if we can get the LUCE to give a proper response. But like I said, from the regulatory side, the law, the framework is already there. So if anyone wanted to introduce a security that needed to be registered by us and then traded on an exchange such as the LUCE, that framework is already in place.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nonde. The second part of the question is there anywhere to gather information on futures and forwards transactions on the Zambian market, or they don't exist?
Okay. I think in terms of that, it's not an area that we've actively looked into, because that's the space of derivatives that you're talking about. So we do know that derivatives do exist. For example, we know that almost all the commercial banks do use some form of forward exchange contracts, or they do offer some forward exchange contracts to their customers. But it's not an area that we've actively looked into, because I guess our supervisory priorities are more into other areas. So I wouldn't really know where you can get like comprehensive data about the Zambian derivative space. It will probably have to be another area of research that we can try and get data on, and then see what else needs to be done.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nonde. And the last question for you is what is SEC and board stands for a listed financial institution whose name has been withheld, that has not complied with listing requirements or continuing obligations and non-publication of financial information to investors or the public, not even a cautionary statement.
Okay, I think the quick response is the reason you have the listing rules is for investor protection, and from our side where we are seated, as long as there's non-compliance with laws and regulation, we also take it a step further and assess what is the risk that this non-compliance is posing to the public. And generally, we then expect the law to take its course, as it were. So for a non-listed company that's not publishing their financials, the listing rules are very clear on what should be happening. So there's two levels of enforcement action that you'd expect to be taken. The first one is at the level of the exchange. There are penalties and sanctions that are included within the listing rules in terms of any issuer or participant that doesn't comply with the laws. And that's generally across the world. You will notice if you listen to business media, you will see certain penalties being meted out by exchanges or the commission for certain breaches of the law. So in a nutshell, if there's non-compliance and it's a question of law, then chances are that either the looser listing rules or the Securities and Exchange Commission's regulatory mandate will kick in to then ensure that appropriate enforcement action is taken. Thanks, Dad.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Nonde. We have come to the end of our town hall today. Our last question is from an anonymous attendee who's asking why Patumba is not required to state publicly what the rate of return is. I think I can attempt that. The simple answer is that they are not required to state because it's not guaranteed, and that once you do that as an institution, you will be then required to meet. If you do declare or do state your rate of return, you will be required to then meet it, even if you are naturally not able to. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming through to today's town hall. We have town halls. We hold town hall meetings every last Thursday of the month. So please make a date with us next month as well on the last Thursday, where we will be discussing another interesting topic. And we advise you to continue engaging with us, and our doors are open, as was mentioned earlier by our acting CEO. We are open and we are open to engaging with you, and you're welcome to speak to us at any point and we will respond. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a good day all.